Welcome to her wind down. Today, we have a special guest with us. Now, most of us on the couch may know who she is, but who is Myesha Chaney?
Oh, I
know. What's your wind down? Tell me. What's your wind down? What's your wind down? Tell me. What's your wind down? Show me, tell me, what's your story? I wanna hear it. What's your opinion? Like it, love it. Take it, love it. It's never ghosted. Retweet or repost it. She's my sister, she's my friend. We stay rolling till the end. We stay vibing no matter what we're riding. We can laugh, be shy or cry. Let's find answers, not ask why. We stay vibing no matter what. We're smiling, we're smiling. I got this, you got this, we got this, we good. I got this, you got this, we got this, we good.
Welcome to her wind down. Today, we have a special guest with us. Now, most of us on the couch may know who she is, but who is Myesha Chaney?
Oh, I
know. Yes.
So I feel like that question is a very good question.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thankful I'm at a stage in my life where who I am is totally being redefined. But I would say I'm a multi-hyphenate. I have a lot of things that I do, but at the core, I'm a human being passionate about life, women, purpose, and love for people to experience freedom. And it just so happens that I do a lot of things to accomplish that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we might know you because you're our first lady, because we all attend Antioch of Long Beach. But when you got married, like the age and then stepping out into who you started becoming. Tell us a little about that.
I met my husband like maybe 18 years ago, and he was a youth pastor. Okay. And at the time, I was trying to figure out my way. I think I was at Long Beach City College, and I had gotten accepted to Cal State Long Beach to go to the nursing program, and I was like, you know what, that's going to take 4 years. I could do it in 2. Mm-hmm. Went enrolled in Long Beach City College, mm-hmm. and I was a nurse when we got married, and I'm so thankful for that because it was like something that I had done for me. Mm-hmm. And got married, and my husband was already like well into his thing. He knew for his life what he wanted to do, and in some ways I was still kind of figuring it out. So we rode off into the sunset, but we had to learn a lot on the way. Mm-hmm. We grew up together. We figured out life together. We established who we were together and also who we were as individuals.
Okay, so with saying that, your view of what a first lady was and what you experienced, were they like almost hand in hand, or was there?
I was born in that church. The same Antioch is the church I was brought to as a child. I had never been a member of any church. I didn't go to another church. I didn't know what a first lady was. I didn't know that that was a thing. I literally had no idea until I actually became that.
Oh, wow.
I knew we had Myesha Chaney, who was the pastor's wife, but that was the only example of a pastor's wife that I knew about. So it was either be like her or be like me, and I had to choose which path I wanted to take.
Okay. And then as far as like experiences, like can you share something like something to where you experienced something that was negative and you was like, wow, why is this really my calling? Is this really something I'm supposed to be involved in?
That's really interesting because like in ministry, mm-hmm. there's a lot of like unspoken expectations, and they're like
what?
There's like this set of like rules that I guess everybody knows about, just a way of being. And everyone has an idea of what they think a person should be like.
As far as a first lady?
Yeah, like how she should. I remember early on, and this was way back, some people were thinking like, saying to me that I don't speak to people. That I don't like. I'm not like, I guess, outgoing, and I wasn't like. But first, it wasn't a part of my personality. I was more tunnel vision. I was more focused. I showed love by doing, not a lot of extra talking. Like I didn't think anything about it. I was just living my life. If you would have pulled me to the side, I would have been like, "Hey, what's going on?" Like I would have been super cool. But people had an expectation that as this first lady, as this pastor's wife, you should be talking to everybody that comes in this room. You should be shaking hands, and you should be. So when I didn't do that, it presented like a problem. And I remember thinking like, I love everybody, like, and I want people to like me. I couldn't believe that a couple people or whoever felt like, oh my gosh, she's just doing her own thing. She don't care. She don't speak to anybody. And I was like, okay, fine. I'm gonna speak to everybody. And I had to mechanically, hello, how are you doing today? Hello, how are you?
That's crazy.
So that I could try to meet whatever their expectations were while I was still figuring out who I needed to be.
Well, because they put you at that disposition, did you feel like that was another reason? Because I know in church sometimes you mention like it's hard making friends. So with them already having all these expectations, did you feel like they put you at a disadvantage to feeling like, okay, could you even become friends with them because they already had these preconceived notions of who you were supposed to be?
Yeah. I think in learning about myself, being a pastor's wife was the perfect storm for me. I was already an introvert. I already isolated to protect myself. When things didn't feel safe, it was easy for me to just go like, okay, I'll wall off. And then now I'm in a role. I didn't know anything about this growing up, but this is just how I had to protect myself. So now I'm in this role and I can wall off. I can be on my own island. So it kind of fed like that part of me that was probably dysfunctional and kept me safe. Where I was like in this bubble, like, and I felt content and at peace because I was an introvert. So I'm in my own thoughts. I'm good. And then I wasn't like at risk of being hurt because I wasn't vulnerable with a lot of people and no one expected me to be vulnerable. So for years, I kind of fed this part of me that was like, this is good. I'm good with this part of the world being enclosed. And it wasn't until I realized, no, I actually have a need for friends, for relationship, meaningful connection, and that I needed that from the people that I was in church with. And that was the only way I could open up to even having friends in the first place.
So did you have any negative experiences, or was that something, I'm an introvert, this is how I am already, I'm going to continue this? Or did you have a negative experience and say, well, now this makes it really easier too? Like, did you ever experience a negative?
I came in, you know? I came in like, I don't trust you, I don't know you.
Because I am her sister-in-law. I know what she had to deal with, just standing on the sidelines and watching the older people look at her because she was younger and because, you know, they're like, this is your first time at the rodeo. We know what you should be doing. She shouldn't be dressing like this and she shouldn't be doing this and she shouldn't. Everybody had this preconceived notion of what she should be. And I was just like, have you talked to her? Have you ever had a conversation with her while you're sitting here tripping about her stockings? Like, seriously, like, that's what's important to you? Like, stockings? Like, just talk to her. Pull her to the side. Like, just say something to her. She's still human. And I think people forget that because they see you in on the stage and in that limelight, you know, they look at you and like, oh, no, you know, she's not human. She doesn't have real emotions. She doesn't feel, you know? And, like, I know for me, I personally told over 100 people, just go talk to her. She's really down to earth. She's, you know, because they're, what is she like? And how is this? And how is that? She's cool. She's a human. She bleeds just like us.
See, and I was at home like, I hope everybody likes me. Like, but I was in this kind of like walled off kind of a way. I just had hopes that everybody would be seeing my intention. Like, I mean well. Hopefully you catch that. But I wasn't close enough to, like, actually know and, like, feed that. I was just more of like, God, be with me and like, that's what we got.
Yeah.
This is the journey.
Yeah.
This is it. Here we
Yeah.
go.
You know, it's so funny because I've had a chance I volunteered at the church for periods of time, and I've been in the office with you in certain capacities, just Monday through Friday. And it's a difference. I don't think people actually see what goes into your duties, or even Pastor Wayne's just not on Sunday when everything is all bells and whistles and it's the service and everybody wants to come and talk to you. But I don't think that they understand just everything that goes behind the scenes of, okay, you're in the office in sweats, real comfortable, like doing everything. Like it's a comfortable setting, but usually it's sort of like, they're like, oh, she's not dressed up, she doesn't have on her makeup. No. And
I look homeless like Monday through Friday. I like it like that.
Could you talk a little bit about just sort of like why people don't understand like what goes on? Like they hold you to a bigger expectation, like you're not human, because they expect for you, they expect like what they see on
That's
Sunday
what
is
you're
just
like,
every
you know.
single moment I see her, this is what she's supposed to be.
I feel like I am a total human. Like I've gotten really comfortable in my skin and living my life. I get the distinct honor and privilege to be with people in a very spiritual way.
Yeah.
That's my work. That's my role. That's what I've been entrusted to do. And yet I can still be myself and accomplish that.
Yeah.
So now it doesn't feel like I'm not living two different realities.
Right.
And I respect people enough to allow them to have that sight. Like I work at Biola as a spiritual director. This is like super on the side. But there's this kind of frame that we want to work with people in. Like I let them only see me in this spiritual way because that's the nature of our relationship. That is a need to know. Like if they ask me if I have children, if they ask me if I'm married, I'll disclose that. But a part of our working relationship is how we're going to figure out how God is working in their life. And we keep it that way.
Yeah.
And I've learned to feel like I'm not being a fraud by them not knowing my full truth.
Yeah.
Because this is the nature of our relationship. So if you're in ministry and maybe you only have an idea of a pastor's wife as this person you see on Sunday, I'm like, that's okay. There'll be more opportunities for you to see other sides.
Yeah.
But on a need-to-know basis. Maybe
Right.
you don't ever need to know that. I didn't know that. I grew up at Antioch my whole life. And I promise you, I had no thoughts for like, I used to wonder, why don't I see Joe Chaney and Maxine at the grocery store? Like, I used to wonder, like, I didn't bump into my Lakewood mom.
Yeah.
You know, like just normal things.
Yeah.
But I didn't think anything of it. It wasn't a negative, it wasn't a positive.
Right.
It was just, I just don't know.
Yeah.
So if there are people out there that just don't know, I'm kind of okay with that.
Okay.
You'll find that out later as we go. And it may be shocking. Like, oh, you're not going to bless me or pray for me all the time?
So growing up at Antioch, because I did grow up at Antioch with you, did you ever think like at a moment that could be me? Like at a moment.
Heck no.
I mean, you know, coming in, you were part of the three sisters. Y'all always had y'all hair straightened, and y'all would come in church. You know, normal lives. Did you ever, for any moment, have a glimpse of, God, this could be my life?
Not in the church. I had a hard. I always saw like big stages, even when I was like a child. I used to always have this glimpse. There was something in me that was like more. Like I was young. I was like, I would tell my parents like, you know, I'm gonna get a Mercedes. I'm gonna buy a house by this age. I mean, at a young age, and they were like, where are you getting that from? Like, what are you talking about? I was that dreamer.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how that was going to pan out. I didn't know how I was going to get there or how it was going to flesh out in my life. The church part was hard, but Wayne was fine. And when I saw him, I was like, yes. I don't care what you're doing. I'm with that. And God used that desire to be in relationship with him with what he wanted to do in the future.
Now, did you not see him growing up? Like, you don't.
Yeah.
I used to say he was fine
Okay.
as a child, like,
As a kid.
but he was another level, you know. To me, he was
Well,
another
because
level.
aren't you guys have an age difference to where
Yeah.
you
4
would have
years.
been in, so you
Okay.
would have been in middle school and he would have been in
Yeah.
high school.
Yeah, so he was another
just
level.
that. Yeah.
Hands down. And when we met, we started dating. My biggest question was like, so we got to go to church every Sunday? Like, for real, that thought of that forever just,
Wow.
I just was like, but every Sunday we have to go to church. That was my only thought about church and ministry. I didn't think it was glamorous. I thought being used by God was amazing. Like the fact that God could use somebody and they would pour something out. But other than that, I had no frame for what it meant to be. That was not glamorous to me, at that time. It was important and special, right, and unique, but it wasn't like, I was listening to Brandy, like that was glamorous to me. To be like on tour and like singing and like going to R&B concerts. So it was just a part of God's plan. That's it.
So do you feel like you ever was walking in Pastor Wayne's shadows? And then if you did, do you feel like, you know what, I'm my own person now? It took this while for me to walk into my own, to where I'm not in his shadows, but what was the transition and what was all that like?
One thing I can say about my husband, Wayne, is he's always kind of known who he was. That was the blessing of coming up in a family that knew who they were. He just had this energy about him that he owned the spaces he walked in, and it was just easy to kind of fall in line with what he was doing. And I already had my own insecurities about how I looked, what my abilities were. So you put a person with insecurity with a person who knows who they are, it's natural to kind of like, so in some ways I was saying I am who I am, but you got something bigger going on. So let's go ahead and make this great. And I just kind of felt like I was coming into alignment with what he was doing. Not quite in the shadow, but more of, he knew what he was called to do and he had the platform to do it. So he was shining. And in that early season when we got married, I was still figuring it out. I hadn't graduated from nursing school yet. I was insecure about ministry. I was insecure about spiritual things. I wouldn't pray out loud. So he had, thank you. He had me on the spiritual side. When it came to like work, I was fine. In the world, I could hold my own. But when it came to that spirit, that's when I was like, you got me. I'm uncomfortable over here. I don't know this stuff. I didn't know the Bible. I didn't know the scriptures. And he knew all of that so well that it was just easy for me to like, can somebody lead us in prayer? Like, oh, here's your pastor. Talk to the man of God. Like, and I would just revert everything to him because he was stronger in that. And I didn't feel strong in that. And it took time. I started praying about it. Felt like I didn't want to live with stuff I was uncomfortable doing. Like that just was torture to me, to like, somebody's going to ask me about a scripture and I'm not going to know the answer. And that was like anxiety. And they would, every meeting they would close out, okay, can we have the first lady? Can you give us some words? And I didn't have it. I was like, I don't want that. And we went to Israel and I wrote prayers in this little prayer thing, and I stuck it in the Wailing Wall, and all those prayers came to pass. And I got up at 5 a.m. and was praying. I prayed for 45 minutes straight. There were witnesses. They were like, we don't know what happened, but something happened. And I came back from Israel, and that's when I did my first message. And I was still scared, but I did it anyway. And that was me kind of breaking out and owning the spiritual side and saying, God put me here, and God is doing something in me too. And God's doing something in you, and God's doing something in me. And I want whatever he's doing in me, I want to experience that.
Well, all of the experience you have had thus far with the marriage, with the spiritual guidance, with who you are right now, where do you see your confidence level at, as far as whether marriage, where is ministry, who is Myesha Chaney?
Yeah, I'm in the sweet spot. I'm getting in my groove. Okay. It's taken me a long time, but I finally feel like I'm settling in. And it's an intrinsic knowing. It's not based on circumstances. Right. It's not like, well, this person likes me, or I'm on this stage, or I'm working with this, or I'm writing this. It has nothing to do with the materials. It's an intrinsic knowing. It's deep down inside going, you are her. And and going, whatever I do is going to be okay because I am her. Deep down inside, it's like I'm getting crystal clear about who I need to be, what I need to look like, what my energy is, what I bring to the table, and going, the universe better align. The universe better line up.
Right.
Not the universe telling me, here's who you are.
Yeah.
You're liked. You have this many friends on Facebook, or wow, look what you're doing. It's like, forget all that, because all that comes and all that goes. I'm getting into what will sustain me for the rest of my life on the inside.
Right.
Was there a distinct moment that you knew, like, oh, this is it. I'm walking into that. I'm finding my legs. A distinct moment in your transition of you like, okay, all right, my husband is confident now. I'm confident, and I know exactly what God wants me to do. Was there a distinct moment that changed?
Yes, and I kind of want to say there were two moments, but that's just a recent moment. So,
That's good too.
yeah,
Because everyone's
Yes,
always
you're always
evolving.
evolving,
You can't stay the
right.
same. It's like God takes us
because
to
I
new
think
levels.
like my one of my bigger moments was season 2 of Preachers of LA, and it was 2014, and I loved it. Okay, I loved it.
Now why?
The little girl from Compton and Long Beach loved it. The one that they call Oil Spill and Darky, and the one that didn't get chosen. It was something so validating about the world seeing me for who at least they thought I was, and being accepted and embraced. That just, it was like a full circle moment. It was like, I remember her growing up, walking the streets going, there's something more for me. And not having anything in my life to confirm that for decades, like a long time, going, nah, there's more. But like, I don't know quite where it's going to come from or how. And then a moment in time comes. I had lost weight. So the first season I was rough. I was figuring it out.
You look good.
And then something happened, and I lost weight. I lost probably like close to 40 pounds. I found my own style. I didn't have to pay people to put clothes on me. I was like, this is what I want to wear because this is what makes me feel good. I was taking more risk. When the skirt was maybe down to the knee, it was getting above the knee. And I was speaking, I was traveling, I was living my full life. I had a full-time nanny. I had drivers. I was in first class. I was in and out of airports. I was living, and this is all for God. Like, the fact that you would know me for God, right?
Right.
That's
Unheard of.
yeah.
People going, oh my God, that was my favorite song. I was singing,
Right.
and I was doing ministry. I was doing hiding behind the lipstick, and people from all over were like, come. It was crazy. It was probably one of the most special years. It was when I was like, okay, I'm figuring this out. You know, I was close. It was the biggest break, I think, in my ministry career. But it wasn't the full end all be all.
like the launch.
Still,
under you.
yeah, it was like the launch. It was like, here's a new path for where I'm trying to go in my life.
Yeah.
And it felt really good. I remember going home going, this was a good day.
Wow.
And I had a lot of good days. I didn't do dishes for probably like 8 months. You know,
That's what you call living your best life.
Right? I was living my best life.
Right?
My goodness. It was a forehead kiss from God to me.
Wow.
It was like a seed of the future. It was just something that God was just saying, like, see, I told you.
Wow.
You know, see, I told you.
Yeah.
You weren't wrong.
No, I remember being with you. Remember we were in Vegas for the kid's birthday
Yes.
party? And some lady came by and she just stopped you and she was like, are you on Preachers of LA? She was like, I love you. I love your husband. Oh my God, I just love you. And literally, we were on an escalator and as we were going down, she was going up. And I just looked back and it was like she was in awe, like just looking like until you just, and I was like, this is so,
Until she
and
was
out of sight, yeah, almost, because I didn't stare that long, but she gave that look to whereas if I look back, she probably was still looking.
It was
And to
so
me,
good.
I felt it was almost as if people were actually starting to see you how God seen you. You know, like you were really starting to shine and be in the position that God called you to be in. And it was like one of those things where I was just like, this was so, and you smiled and then you was like, okay, kids, come on over here. And I was like, it's not as if you really kind of dismissed it, but it was like, to me, I kind of thought it was like just humility, like I appreciate that, but still, you know, like, and so I was just like, that was so cool to me. I was just like,
praise to God. Basically.
Yeah, really, it was
Yeah,
nice.
and it was like that. I mean, then we, of course, then the show was over. And so the realization of, like, that came and went. And then I had a period of, like, a few years where I had to go, God, what it, another redefining, another evolution. Now I got into this, like, zenith. It felt like, to me, I think I was probably 30 at the time, and it was like, now it's gone. It was a vapor. It was a moment in time. It came and it went and it was over. And it was like, now you back to, like, excuse me, who are you?
What if it was just a taste, though?
Facts
To
on
show
facts
you
on
how
facts.
good he was.
On facts
No,
on facts on facts.
Just to, like, no, seriously, just like, let me just show you.
Wow.
So you can believe
Yeah.
that I am who I say I am.
Yeah.
So I went through a season of complete, like, grieving. All of it. That it just, I let it die, completely die. It could never change. What is life like if I can never sing, if no one ever knows my name, like, and being okay with the nothingness of life. So that took me a few years. And then when I felt like God was saying, okay, what I put in you, I still want to use.
Yeah.
You don't have to throw it all away. It's not for you to decide when you give it or if you give it. I put it in you, it's for the people. So then now I feel like I've had another kind of moment where God was like, I did this. You follow my orders.
Right.
So obey. And I had never really done a lot of stuff without thinking about the consequences. Or what's going to come, what's going to happen. I'm do this and then I'm get this. This was the first season where I was like, I'm just going to do it. And they going to get it or they don't.
Yeah.
And that is
And I know
liberating.
that felt exactly. I know that felt good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we put out this conference that we're going to have, our first conference. I've been probably working on it for 5 years and never had the courage to launch it.
And now you're about to launch it.
And I'm about to launch it.
Let me give
this
you a
year.
round of applause for that. Congratulations on that.
Literally, I have the meetings, I have the emails of people that I've gone to consult with for logos and everything, design, all the details. I had already worked it up years ago. And this year I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And normally I would say I'm going to do something. I'm like, oh, well, you know, I'm going to charge and people are not going to come and they got to buy tickets and let's just make it free. And I said, why would you make something based on your own insecurity?
Right.
So that people will come, you will devalue yourself and what you bring. And it was just a moment that God was like, okay.
Yeah.
I said, oh no, I don't care if there's 2 people in there. I'm doing it.
Right.
Because it's not for me.
Right. And that's
It's
the attitude
God.
you really have to have.
You
Girl,
just have to just step out.
You better get with it.
Yeah.
The train is coming and going.
Right. And here you have something that people could actually take with them,
Right.
eat on later on in the years, and God is saying, yeah, no, I got you, you know?
Right.
Know your worth. Do
Beautiful
this.
conversation.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So when I went on the Eventbrite, after we launched the ticket sales and I saw how many tickets sold, normally I would have been like, let's come up with a plan B. And this time I was like, I bless you, Lord, for that. I thank you. Let's keep on trucking.
Where for those who don't exactly know what we're talking about, because we haven't said the name, please tell everybody about Hiding Behind the Lipstick.
Hiding Behind the Lipstick was kind of a ministry, a movement that was birthed from me being in isolation as a pastor's wife and feeling at a very young age that I didn't have very many places to go to be honest and vulnerable, that the people around seemed to put out what they wanted everybody to see and not really who they were. And so instead of me just saying, hey, I want to talk about my business, I just created an event around it and said, listen, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. And let's just be honest. And women would just share the truth of what was going on, what they have been dealing with, what they have been carrying. And not only did it feed them, but it fed me. And I kept it going, wrote a book about it, did events all over the U.S. It was featured on season 2 of Preachers, and it has just been really transformative.
Yeah.
I meet people in the store, and I think they're gonna say, "Oh, you're such and such wife," or "Oh," and they go, "When are you doing a lipstick event?" And I'm like, "Yes, yes."
And this is her book, Hiding Behind the Lipstick. You could find this on Amazon. You could go to her Instagram page and click in her bio, and you could find out all about Lady My. But yeah, this is lovely.
Yeah.
And you said you've been doing this now. This has been 10 years. Wow.
2009.
Don't it seem like it was just like
Like
yesterday?
I remember the
Showing our
first
age.
time that you did it and you introduced it at
Women's retreat.
the women's retreat, and it was called Hiding Behind the Mask, and it was so powerful. And then we had the women's ministry, and then I remember when you said, okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do this at the church at 1535, and every crevice of the church, from the annex to downstairs, the computer room, Pastor Wayne's office, and we had women, and it was just lines upon lines, and they did not care where they were sitting. The entire church was full for this moment, and it was so many breakthroughs. And then I think for us, when we work it's amazing to see this, and you're just like, oh my God, like, what are we going to hear tonight? And sometimes it's just sort of like, we have to go do something fun after, because some stuff is so deep.
Yeah.
But just to be there, to be like a comfort, and just to be a part of it, that's like, sometimes it's like, I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff, but I was like, oh, if I can, I love that ministry for that, because it really does help people, like that breakthrough that they need. And it's just really, it really transforms them.
It does. I remember the first time I went, and I was ushering, and some girl was up there telling her story, and I literally just stopped, and I'm boo-hooing.
Yeah, I was
and I'm just
bawling
crying.
at the
I'm
first
like,
one.
oh my gosh. You know, it's certain things that you can see on TV. It's certain things that you could hear someone else's story. But to see the person that actually experienced what they said they experienced, it's like, oh my gosh, like, how can you help them? What can you do for them? You know, like, I'm so sorry. I wish I could have been there for you. Like, do you need anything right now? Like, I'm here. Like, how can I save you? You know, it's like, oh my gosh. Like, I mean, the Hiding Behind the Lipstick, I mean, it really is. It really is nice. It's just, it was so draining for me. I was like, I can't take it.
I thought it was beautiful. I just remember being emotionally drained afterwards. And I remember Chris saying, "What's wrong?" I was like, "Talk to me tomorrow." like, I don't have any more tears. Like, I've cried every tear that I had in my body. Like, my body has to go and remake tears right now. I just need to rest because it was so draining, but in a good way. Like, it was like you were crying with them. Like, you know, like, you could feel their pain, and you shared it with them. Like, you know, because they just got up. And it was, like, remarkable to see. Like, they just got up and just shared some of the most vulnerable things. Like, and they were just, like, laid it all out. And it was just like, oh, my God.
Like, that's how touched they were. Because you
Yeah.
have to really be touched to get up in front of a whole bunch of
people.
complete random strangers and tell your deepest, like, you know, the things that you deeply have experienced, like your most traumatic experiences. Like, that takes a lot.
Yeah.
Really
And
it takes a lot.
that just shows how much God's hand is on this.
Yeah.
I know my household
Oh, yeah.
firsthand.
I got that on
mean,
video.
The very first one, my sister had been out of church for years because of stuff that happened to us growing up as kids in church. And it hurt her to the core. And she was done. Not going to your church, not coming to your baby christening, nothing. And she was like, I'm not coming. My mom was like, I got you a seat. Literally, it is like they're all in like 2 seats, but it's 4 of them, 5 of them. They are like tight in there, determined. And so God was like, no, you're coming. So she came, walked up on the stage. I was like, oh no, this is not. And her mask was literally staring her in the face. It was a human mask.
Wow.
And from that day, she has been serving in a church, thankfully. Like, she is in charge of ministries and faithfully serving. Her kids are in church like she was.
Yeah.
And I'm like thinking, like, if God didn't birth this ministry, or if you were, if you hesitated, what would have happened?
Because so many people have been
Yeah,
freed
it was
from
like
that.
I needed to
Yeah.
give freedom for people in ways that I did not have freedom myself. It's so fascinating how our brokenness creates space for other people to have freedom. And that's basically what it was. It was like, I'm sick of this. So I'm not living like this. So come on, let's talk about it. And it became something I had no idea. And even years later, when I was insecure, I was thinking, the gig is up. I've been traveling, I'm speaking, but they're going to find out that I don't really know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So I enrolled into school and did graduate work to learn everything that I had been doing and hiding behind a lipstick. Mm-hmm. It was just the most bizarre thing ever.
That's what I was about to say. Like, God already given it to you. Mm-hmm. He's already made it do what it do. Mm-hmm. And whether you went to school or not, or do you feel like you going to school is putting it on a different level? Or do you feel like it was already going to be
like a certification?
Yeah, like it was already on this level.
It was just so you had the facts for people.
Yeah, I had no idea. You don't understand. I was in a hotel room in another state and applied for a university I had never even been to. Mm-hmm. I remember getting a postcard about women's ministry degree years ago. And in that hotel room, I went online and I applied. Mm-hmm. And I got accepted. And now my first time on campus ever. First time on the college campus. I had never even seen it. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what it was about. I knew nothing about how long the program was. I knew nothing.
You're just like,
it was sure like something told me, go. Mm-hmm. So when I got there, it was just confirmation. But it also gave me steps to do what I was just doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, so I knew how to get to point A, but I couldn't have told you
right.
What am I doing to get you to point A? I had no idea.
Yeah.
And now I have textbooks and other things to refer to tell you how you got there. And then how to walk you back and how to see where you are in the process. How to be okay with it. And it was really more for me than it was for anything else. When I got to that first day of that class, it was God saying, I'm doing this to give you the freedom now.
Wow.
So the program was for me to get what I had been giving people in hiding behind the lipstick. Period.
Oh, wow.
Period. It was a 3-year hiding behind the lipstick. For me.
Specifically for you.
That's what I walked away from.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
That program.
Okay, so knowing what you know now, what piece of advice would you give your younger self?
Dang, the advice I would have said yesterday is different from the advice I say today. I would say own your story. Mm-hmm. I think being able to understand, like, this is the family I grew up in. This is what I had to deal with. This is who I became. And this is why this is important. Kind of helps in the future. Like, I wish I would have known the things I know about myself now. I wish I would have known that 5 years ago. I wish I would have known that at 20. I think we build much of our life on a faulty foundation. And then we like build this beautiful house. And it's really just old childhood stuff that we never dealt with. That if we would have just dealt with it and moved on, we would have been like, okay, I'm good. So, know your story and own your story. And be okay with all the flaws and everything in between. I chose to try to be more perfect and like more like crafted. I didn't like a lot of mistakes. I don't like a lot of like, I presented what I felt like was the best me. Mm-hmm. And there was just so much more to me. Mm-hmm. I just didn't know that. Had I known that, I would have been loud and crazy from the beginning. I didn't need to be quiet and like shy and like just like introverted and like cut off. I didn't have to be. Mm-hmm. But because that was my only way of responding to my life, that's who I thought that I was.
Mm-hmm. So do you still consider yourself an introvert or are you an extrovert?
Are you an ambivert?
I think I'm a little bit of both. I refresh alone. Mm-hmm. I'm not a verbal processor. I do think everything inside. Mm-hmm. I don't let people always know what I'm feeling or thinking at every moment just because I'm figuring it out. So some of that is, but I want to know, right? Mm-hmm. I want to flesh it all out and see, is this who I am or is this who I had to be? Mm-hmm. And
still today?
Still to this. I think at the core, yeah. Mm-hmm. I would rather be alone somewhere. I think, but I refuel in like, okay, so we can have a great time and I feel really good. I'm being very genuine and it's going to be great. But when I go home, I probably won't have anything to say to the people in my house because I've done a lot of talking for today. You know what I mean? Like, that's enough. Do you know what I mean? Like I get all in the feels, but then how I refresh and energize for tomorrow will be like listening to music or unwinding or watching TV or writing notes or like it's somewhere that is just me and something. So of course I'm married to an extrovert and a verbal processor. So that's how I'm learning more about my true self.
From your likes and dislikes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I will need. In fact, it can be overwhelming for me sharing feelings because I went so many years of my life not doing it, and I'm learning that about my own self. That like if it's too emotional for too long, for me, I need a break. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Or for another person, they wear it on their sleeve and they like, oh, this one's going on. I'm stressed. That's not me. So if I do tell you that, it took some energy for me to do that, and I gotta replenish.
But that's so interesting that you said that because I remember before you did Hiding Behind the Lipstick, you would have we had Wednesday night Bible study, and I remember that we we covered the doors, the glass doors, and it was just like a real intimate moment where people were really it was a lot of the women, they go into the altar and they were laying everything down, like heavy stuff. Yeah. And it's so much, and you think about Hiding Behind the Lipstick, and it's not, it's great, but it is very heavy. You go emotionally drained because you hear so much stuff. So it's interesting that you say that because this is your ministry and how it's so emotional and it's just so deep. And you're like, this is how I process this. Because I think maybe as you go along, it was like, first when working, it was like, oh my God, I got to go home. I want to cry. Then it's like, okay, we understand this is what's going on. Y'all, let's go grab some eat after we finish volunteering just to get into better spirits because we just heard such heavy stuff. But it's just interesting to see the contrast of how you process stuff, but yet this is where God has blessed you.
See, because I thrive in other people being emotional. As long as I don't have to.
Yeah.
So I can listen for hours and hours and hear all this stuff. Like I really feel like God wired me uniquely to that's the robotic part of me that, remember, I was cut off.
Yeah.
I was isolated.
And for our viewers, she is not joking. For those that do not know her, she's like, because I'm telling you guys, there was a time I was just like, okay, and she's like, Terry, you need to cry. Just cry. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. She was like, you know what? This is what's going on. This is not right.
Better cry.
Well, this is what it is. How does that make you feel, Terry? And I was like, I'm good. She was like, Terry, just cry. I was like, I'm done. I'm out of here. So you thriving on someone else's emotion. I see that now. I see, even though I kind of felt that because me and Tammy talk about it, I was just like, you know what? I am not going out to lunch with her no more. She has me messed up. I said she wanted me to just pour like
It doesn't affect me in that way because I was trained in my early 20s creating these environments as a robot that was cut off. I can be moved deeply for you,
right,
and be in that with you, and it didn't keep me up at night, But when I start doing my own work and digging deep in me, that's when I was like, okay, this is a lot. I've been talking a lot about feelings today. I think I need to pick up tomorrow.
So how did you feel when you did start expressing your feelings to other people? And maybe because it was hard for you, but they didn't know. Because you see, sometimes, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes people just do it all the time, but because it was hard for you and you started doing it, did you feel like maybe they weren't a friend or they didn't take you seriously or maybe they didn't see you for who you were basically trying to come across to them as? Because now you're sharing. And you're like, hold on, you're not paying attention. I am sharing with you, you know?
I think it was mostly great. Because people didn't know. I didn't think you had feelings. I thought you were, you never stopped. You were taking on all these things and you were doing it. You weren't even blinking. So they made an assumption that I didn't have needs. And I let them believe that. So the moment where I said, oh, that hurts me.
Yeah.
For me, it was empowering.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, this is life. To feel deeply connected to someone, and like, if something happened to them, that I would be brokenhearted or I would cry, like be vulnerable, like where it was like, no, they matter. You know,
Okay, I have a
like,
personal question.
Yeah.
Not to cut you off on this. Okay, so say this is your husband, right? And now he's seeing this side of you. And you're just starting to be vulnerable. And Myesha just had a post, and I call it being punked. But now you're just now being vulnerable. Now he's seeing that. Where are you at right now? Because you've been married now for
15.
So you just started to be vulnerable. He just started seeing this. What
In
what
the
marriage?
past 3-4 years.
3 or 4 years. 3 or 4 years. So now you have 3 or 4 years. What is the change? What does the change look like of being vulnerable? What does the change look like for you now as a wife?
It's great.
Do you feel like it's something that you got to keep up, or do you go back and forth with it still?
Because
You know?
for so many years, my husband thought of me as a certain way. And now he's finding out my wife is not this way. To him, he cares for it more. He's like, no, if you tell me your feelings, you really mean this. See, I'm not gonna play you because this is important. So it's kind of like actually deepened our intimacy, because now I'm known in ways that I want to be known. And he goes, wow, my wife, that hurt her. Or wow, my wife is excited about this. Or this means a lot to her, because I'm telling him. He's not just assuming.
Right.
I'm saying it out of my mouth. Wow, I really want to do this, or this is exciting, or wow. Like, I never really liked colors. You would have asked me what was my favorite color? I didn't choose one. What? Why? I didn't want gifts. The gifts he bought, I would take them back. Really? I thought, nope. So for 10 years in a relationship, he was conditioned to me being this way. And then I one day go, well, I'm not really this way.
That is so interesting.
That is.
You got a whole new wife.
I said, I do want gifts.
I just don't like these.
I like them. I didn't give myself permission.
Was it because
What?
she didn't know how to accept?
I didn't accept.
Yeah,
It wasn't normal.
It was just like I am more. Maybe I thought my purpose was to create equilibrium. You know, like
Be the giver, not the receiver, or something.
Yeah, or you can get things that you like.
Yeah, but I'm
not gonna get anything. Yeah. I don't need to get anything. You can get something, or I just was like, I'm good. Everything was like, I'm good. But I didn't want to increase my expectation about stuff. I didn't want to be hurt. I didn't like a lot of extra energy about anything. So whatever kept me neutral and balanced and safe, I was good with that. So my routines, my daily plans, and that kept me safe. But the moment I start, now you give me an iPad, oh, I love that iPad, now I crack it. It was like, I love this iPad. You see, I didn't want to deal with that. So everything is functional and everything has its place.
You are a 10-year-old.
And I don't want it. So like really nice things, or even beautiful things, everything I've ever gotten, he gave it to me, and I like finally accepted it. But on a like yearly basis, monthly basis, if he bought something, I would go, you don't give me flowers. Don't waste that money.
I still do that sometimes.
You know, that's so funny. I think it was I don't know if it was your birthday or something like that, or it was something. And I was like, oh, Pastor Wayne, I was gonna do this for Lady M, and I was gonna get you some flowers or something. He was like, she don't like flowers. I was like, I ain't gonna waste my money on flowers. I get something that she wants. But then it's so funny because then I just saw an Instagram post, and you were like, I just felt like getting these beautiful roses at Trader Joe's, and I was like, oh, it's a new one. She likes flowers now.
She actually does like
no, but I just thought it was
out of nowhere.
Thing.
Because I didn't have a space for beauty without some kind of consequence or some kind of, what you gonna give me? So I'm gonna buy these flowers, sit them in this thing on the table, and they're gonna die in 3 days. All I see is work.
I saw like a waste of money. That's what I used to tell Chris, like, why waste money? They're gonna die.
But now I'm seeing the value in beholding the beauty of a thing for the sake of its beauty and beauty alone.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
For my life experience to be enhanced by looking at it. Yeah. Wow.
That's a major jump from what you're saying to now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Wayne was very supportive, very loving, very much like, all right. And he is, trust me, he's getting all the benefits of freedom.
Yeah.
We're having a lot of fun.
I believe
Just
it.
from like two people having the history and the background and the loyalty already set.
Mhm.
You already know me, you know my get down, and now I can become a better version of myself and you fully accept me.
Yeah. Is this
Wow.
better than that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, final question before we do our last 5 is, as far as your friend zone, how is your zone of friends looking?
I think it's looking good. It's looking better and better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm honest about what I need.
Mm-hmm. To your friends.
Just
Or to
what
you.
I need when it comes to the whole friend thing. See, before I used to think, but where's my friend? You know, where's that ride or die? Where's that body? Where's that person? And then I start looking more, what am I longing for?
Mm-hmm.
And when I started answering those questions, I found that a lot of my needs were being met already in different people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, go to the mall, want to hang out, want to have deep conversations. Like God is meeting all of those needs in friends, but it doesn't look like what I would have cried out for 10 years ago.
Okay.
It's more of an evolved, like adult, be realistic kind of thing.
Okay. We're going to talk about that off camera. No. Okay, you guys, so we're about to play this game. It's called Turn or Burn. So turn means turn the other cheek, turn it, just ignore it, it's whatever, or burn. Oh, I'm about to address this. I'm coming after you, okay? So the first question is, you're at the grocery store, a person runs over your child's foot with the shopping cart and keeps going. Do you turn or burn?
More like beat.
So you mean confront,
Yeah.
or bring to their
Yes.
attention,
Or just
Yeah.
ignore
that
it.
something
Okay, so
happened.
even though Lady Mine, this is like she's a Christian, we're all Christians here. It's not burn like you're burning in hell. Okay, you turn away from it, or you gonna burn like, no, I'm upset. I'm going to confront this. Yeah. I explained
Yeah,
it.
I would confront
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Nobody's running over my
Me
baby.
today, I would confront that.
Yeah.
Me
Oh, so-
yesterday would have been like, what's the point?
I'm glad who you are today.
Come on, sis.
Yes, I am happy with you today. I'm loving on you.
I would
Okay.
stop them and I would say, excuse
Yeah.
me.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that or not.
But she ran over my
Yeah.
baby's foot.
Right.
With a pretty smile, like,
Yeah, exactly.
I hope so.
Right. Okay, so you're at church and the person next to you has bad breath, but the pastor keeps saying, turn to your neighbor. Do you turn or burn?
I turned to my other neighbor.
I burn.
well, you know what? Sometimes
I have to say something like, let me get you a
gum
mint.
or something. I'll just offer it. Like, ooh, here you want? Like I have.
So you
know.
guys are saying y'all just ignore it and y'all just gonna keep on letting them say, well, God loves you.
No, I just sit by the same people. And
I'm
know
gonna
that
try
they
to
got
talk to
their
my
breath.
other neighbor.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I
I've
may
been
not
talking to
know
you
that
this
their
whole
breath
time.
stinks.
But
So
don't
that's
you
the
want to
thing.
tell them?
I don't want to hinder the spirit
No.
by messing with it.
Because then they have a bad experience.
No,
They have a bad experience. So, like I
just
came
hold
to
my
church
breath.
and the person next to me talked about my breath or something.
I'll be
that.
like, you
Yeah.
know what? Here, I got some mint for you. I don't know.
But that's what we
Next
need,
time.
one person to be bold and brave and give them that mint so that we can all be quiet.
Quiet,
and
yeah.
give all that love.
We don't need everybody.
Come
up
back.
in there. Okay,
Give them the
so
mint, don't say
that's another one at church. So you're at church and someone comes up to you and says, you shouldn't be wearing that with rudeness. Do you turn or burn?
God said, come as I am. You should be minding your business. You're burned.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think I kind of will.
You kind of say, yeah. Okay. So you lend money to a family or friend and they don't pay you back, but they're on social media living their best life with what you consider your money. Turn or burn? Well, why would you say burn too, Jessie?
Because run me my money. What do you mean? Because I know for me, like when I need to pay somebody back, like that's the first thing I do, like as soon as possible. Because like that's money is something I feel like you don't play with, like so why are you doing all these
Yeah.
extra
I'm trying.
curricular activities, but you're broke, like you know what I mean?
See, now my thing is, if the Bible says lend out without looking for it to be, receive it
exactly.
back, That's one thing, but I will still address it. Like, you know what? I'm not even tripping about the money situation,
Right.
but I really don't like how you know this. Like, yes, the principle behind it. Like, you know you owe, but this is what you're doing. Like, for that
I feel like
reason.
it's really cheap that you gave them that money that one time and they didn't pay you back. It saved you from a lifetime of giving that person money.
So then, do you just cut them all off, throw the whole person away?
We just don't exchange money
Anymore.
And you discern too, because sometimes I let money leave and I know I'm never going to see that money.
Oh yeah, I
again.
do that all the time. But I think I would still feel like I would have to, like, I would say something, but being nice about it, like, hey, I really didn't like that, but I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be good, but I still feel like if
But you
I
say
did
something.
it, I would
Sometimes,
think,
like,
why didn't you say
why didn't you
anything?
just say it?
Yeah,
Like,
I would think that to
I'm
myself,
thinking
For
it.
a woman.
and I want to go to sleep. I don't my brain say, why didn't you say that? Yeah.
I don't own it if I can't.
Okay, so the last one. You and your spouse are out and a guy makes a flirtatious remark towards you. Do you turn or burn?
You and who are out?
You and your spouse.
Yeah, definitely turn. Because he gonna do it first, right?
That part, exactly.
I don't have to
I
burn.
don't say anything.
But at times, sometimes even with Carlos, he'll be like, oh, he just said what to
And
you?
you ain't
And you
gonna say
just, yeah, and I'm like,
Hey, that's literally happened to me before too, and I'm like,
Oh, with your man?
yeah.
Okay.
Feel the cheat, honey. No, okay, so he had like this little bro, and we had just seen him like the following week at like CVS or something. And I was with him, of course, like we weren't holding hands or nothing, but clearly we're a couple, like, you know, and they were holding a conversation. I was just shopping, letting them hold their conversation and stuff. And so he saw us walk out together, and then a couple of days later, he DMs me. He liked like 10 of my pictures in a row on Instagram, and then he DMs me. I was like, "What's good?" And so I told my boyfriend, I'm like thinking it's funny. I was like, "Oh, so tell me why your little bro, like, you know, thinking that we're about to share a laugh, like, you know." And he was like, "So are you gonna DM him back and tell him that you're in a relationship?" I'm like, this is your little bro. Y'all was just chatting it up. He saw us together. Like, I feel like off rip, you should have been like, oh, that's bad, and told him, like, it's bad.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
that,
I'm thinking we're about to sit here and share a laugh at him, like, you know, and I got in trouble. And I'm like, damn near, I'm never going to tell you anything again. I'm like, all you little bros sliding my DMs. Never say a word.
I just got in trouble for
I
nothing.
just got in trouble. Like,
But all your little bros.
he was like, he
sliding my
probably
DMs.
doesn't know we're together. I'm like,
Little Terry for sure.
We were just together.
we were just shopping together. Like, why would we be together?
Well, Myesha, we want to thank you for joining us today.
You are our first guest on her wind down.
Yay!
Thank you.
And that will be a wrap for her wind down.